And okay, well, first of all, welcome everybody. And this is going to be our non-response follow-up training. I do want to thank you all. We did really, really well as a team. Um, we did well as a team in getting out the list leave and the mail out dropout sections done. Our mail out drop off people are not here today because they actually don't start. Their training is going to be on the 31st of May. And we're going to have just a couple additional people being brought on to the team because before we've got Kathy and Dean as well, but now we're going to have about 3 more. And then I'm going to utilize, with your guys' permission, in some areas, you may get a little extra work to help support it, because this has been a really strong team. So as I had mentioned to some of the crew here earlier, that you've got your assignments for the non-response follow-up, and each of you should have, if you go into your CMP, and I want to make sure that you guys can find this, into my cases, you should be able to click on my cases, and that'll show you, again, it's anywhere between 30 and 40 properties that or listings that you've got to hit in the first few days, or this is your first assignment in this ongoing assignment. Eventually, we're going to hit every non-response follow-up. What this does is that right now where we sit, you guys have done the list leave to all of the properties in your collection units. You're going to take this and you're going to, now the ones who haven't gone online and done their census, you're going to actually be knocking on the doors and talking to them. There's 2 different components to this. If they're not home, there's a card you're going to drop off to them, and we'll talk about that briefly. And I've delivered these cards to you guys. And if they are home, you're going to be filling out a census form. You're going to do the census form right there. Then you're going to come back and put them in a confidential envelope where I'll pick them up once a week. Or if you guys get a whole bunch of them, just let me know and I will come out. It doesn't have to be once a week. It can be twice a week. I'm good with traveling. And then you'll be entering stuff into CMP again, just to confirm completion. And every 3 days, about every 3 days, I will be dumping your assignments and reassigning them. And the reason is that allows the system to say, okay, we've done this work, we've done certain ones, and we can just keep your list always active, always good. And so you're always going to have, until we're done, I'm going to estimate about 40 potential properties within the collection units you're working. So any questions on that? As we said, and you guys, please don't be afraid to shut off or turn on your microphones and ask questions and stuff. Or if you've got a story you want to tell about what you've done and enjoy, I want to try and make this as painless as possible, because I know that when I read through it, I fall asleep. That's why there's drool marks all over the paper copy, the one I have. And so we're going to really try and bring it down. So first of all, and I do truly want to make sure, are you all able to get into CMP and to see your assignments? Okay, and you're all able to print them off and they look okay, because if you're able to do that, that'll just make this whole bit way simpler. So okay, we'll get started on the process here. It's looked like I'm looking away, but I'm actually looking at my other computer screen, so I actually know that we are talking and doing the same thing. So okay, we all know Census Day. Anytime we talk about census to people, make sure we use the date May 11th. So we want to know your primary residence or your residence on May 11th. So if they just moved in and they say, well, we lived in Calgary prior to that, then they would do their census based on May 11th out of Calgary, not out of our area. And if they moved in just before that or on that day, then that's the day that they're in. Main residence, it talks about dwelling. We know what dwellings are: occupied private dwellings. And I know you guys all read very well, so I'm not going to read this to you. The big thing is about the main residence is make sure we understand that it's their main residence. We don't have a whole bunch of secondary or cabins and stuff in our area, but if there's that potential that they live in somewhere else most of the year, and that's their main residence, and they're in that area and they're in our area at that time, then they would do their census in that in their primary area, and same and vice versa. If this is their primary area, but they're gone mostly, they're gone a part of the year, we do the census here. But just a household, well, it's your family in the house, but it doesn't necessarily have to be immediate family. It can be other people. You've got cousins, aunts, uncles, friends living with you. If that's their primary residence, then that can be part of your household. Knowing that in some households, if you've got, I moved my mother-in-law in with me just in this past few weeks, so, it could be a dangerous thing. I've added her as part of our household for the purpose of census, but she's also got the right to do it on her own. So we'd have two different census forms coming out of our house, and that's just up to the individuals. Again, temporary residents, foreign residents, you guys can read over that quickly. So who's eligible? I guess I should be rotating this so we know who's eligible for enumeration. Again, it's Canadian citizens by birth or naturalization, landed immigrants, persons from another country with a work permit or study permit. And we do have some in the Drumheller area. I don't know if we have any in the rurals, but I do know we've got like a lot of foreign students in Drumheller itself. Persons in Canada who claim refugee status and they've got family members living with them. Any person, all persons who ever lived in Canada or temporary, sorry, you guys can read it yourself there because my lips aren't working. Babies born on May 11th and persons who died after May 11th. So again, that May 11th is that magic point. If enumerate then has one residence, so that's their primary residence, has more than one residence, but what is their primary residence? What is their primary residence is the one thing, but then the other one is if they just go between two residences all the time and they kind of have two primary residences, where they were the night of May 10th to May 11th. And again, this can all be read very clearly by you guys, but if you're looking at, a spouse who's away working other places, they're all enumerated in that point, has no main residence. So where they were on May 11th is in an institution, so we put the prisons up here. Census questionnaires. Now we've got two types of census questionnaires. We've got the 2A and the 2AL. I gave you guys copies of both of them. Tammy, I should have given you a copy of them too, just so you could see some of the bizarre questions that they've got to go through. If you look at your assignment that you've printed off, I just have to go to the right page in my book here to find it. But as you break it down, sorry, just give me a second. On your list under form type, it's going to actually say 2A or 2AL. That's the form they want you to do with that group. So the 2A is just the short form for the census. The 2AL is the long form, and it gets into some of the more interesting questions. I noticed that in the short form and the long form, they talk about gender and a variety of other things and birth dates. We're living in an interesting world, so you might get some interesting answers, but record them as necessary and we'll go from there.
Now, Sterling, I have a question here. So if they're not comfortable filling it out with us at the door, the forms or whatever, they can still call into that number and do it on, over the phone?
The answer to that is well, they can't do it over the phone. They'll get a number. This is going to be my suggestion. If you get someone who doesn't want to do it, like, you go there and the first go round, okay, this is your first go round, your first contact with that place, and they say, no, I'm not comfortable doing it with you. You can ask, what is it? Because you make sure they understand this is confidential. Once it's done, you maintain confidentiality. We'll talk about that a little bit in a bit. And that, it is, and it's required under law. So, but if they still don't want to, especially your first time, you can give them the SSID number. Sorry, I gotta find the card here. Oh, that's not the right one. And I don't have one right in front of me. But those cards I gave you a stack of those cards. You can write their SSID number on that. Yes, those ones there. Write their SSID number on that. They can phone the census group and they will give them the secure access code to get into doing it online. The first time you go around, just say, will complete online, and give them the card. Make sure they've got their information so when they phone in, they can get the right number. Now, the thing that I think has got to be clear is say, let them know that I will know when it's done, not what the information is, but it'll take you off my list. I will have to come back if this is on my list again next time, I let them know that this is going to be, we've got to do 3 attempts at each place. And we're going to record bits in it to show that it's complete, incomplete, refusal, whatever. We're going to get into that in just a page or so here. So we've got our different questionnaires. We'll talk. Go ahead.
I have a question regarding the questionnaires. We don't have any questionnaire 3A, but it says if we require a second form of the short form, we're supposed to use the questionnaire 3A. So if there's more than 6 people live in that household.
Well, I will get 3As out to all of you today. Sorry, I forgot to put that in my file.
We may not run across that, but it's
and you're very
it's kind
correct.
of interesting because if it's a long form questionnaire, you just use the second long form, but if it's a short form, you have to use the other questionnaire for the second form.
Okay, and I apologize. I'll get those out to you guys within the next couple days.
Yeah,
okay.
There were also some other forms referenced throughout this document that we don't have yet.
Well,
so
there are, and some of these are online. I did send you a couple of them online. And we will go through those.
Okay.
Okay. So we talked about the 2 different forms, and it just talks about here just some of the differences in them. 2A has got just basic population information, and 2ALs have got other questions, education, limitations, employment, citizenship. And then
we did 2Ls at our house.
I did a 2L.
We have a long form online.
Yeah. And I think when you're online, there's probably going to be a lot more long forms because people do it in private, and it gives the government more information. But yes, and I do apologize. I'll get the 3As out to you, and if you're not home, I will put them, I'll leave them in a secure envelope where, you can access them, because there's nothing filled out on them. So they're not technically confidential information until we write on them. The next one is outcome codes. As you go, sorry, I'm going to look here before your assignment. Okay, so here it talks about the before you do your enumeration assignment, check all your information. You've got your lists already. You got your initial lists, and like I said, every 3 days pull up those lists, because I will dump them and then reassign them, and it's to keep it as current as possible. And then Tammy's going to be able to look over some of the information as part of the quality control on this, making sure all the coding lines up, all the comments line up. And we've got more quality assurance than we have people enumerating. So it's quite lengthy. So you've got your assignment list. You see what it looks like there up on the screen. And you see you've got copies that have in your own hand. And we'll just go through that in a little bit of detail as we go. Okay, so each assignment list has certain things. It's got like pre-printed address, phone numbers, if we've got that information. It's got that 12-digit number, and that 12-digit number you guys used as part of your work when you're going to do the list leave. You had the initial, our province, our crew district and all, and your collection unit, and then your VR line. It'll have that same number. If you've got to put it on one of the little cards that said we were here, that's the number you use, write that 12-digit number in and put it on there, and make sure, and that's the same 12-digit number. And again, I know you guys know this, but if I don't say this, maybe the government teaching gods will come down on me. You've got to do that. It's on the front of each of your forms too, same 12-digit number. At the very top of your 2A and 2ALs, it's got that number. Make sure that's put in. And the number of Form 3s that you leave. And then questionnaire number, like 1 of 1 or 1 of 2 if you end up leaving 2 questionnaires. Okay, so like I said, this is called NRFU non-response follow-up. And again, if people ask why are we doing this, it's because your stuff didn't show up online. Like you didn't go online and do your census at that point. And that's why we are doing this now, to make sure we've got as many people as possible enumerated. And as you go through it, the one thing we're going to learn, and the goal is that at one point I may tell you to stop in an area, and it's going to be based on a collection unit. And if I do that, it's because the government looks at, and they're trying to explain to us their actual percentage. But if they get anywhere, it's about a 98, 99% compliance, they'll actually end it right there. They're good with that 1% variance or 2% variance. And it's a number that the government does. So if all of a sudden you're going and thinking, well, I got 3 more houses, and all of a sudden, I phone you and say, okay, in collection unit 1154, if that's your collection unit, just stop. And it's got nothing to do with you. You've done nothing wrong. It's just that we've reached that magic number, that variance that the government is comfortable with. One of the big parts of this, columns 4 and it says 4, 5, and 9, date, time, and day. For those that we have struggles getting a hold of, they want us to try different times a day if possible. Now, again, I understand each of us have got schedules. Each of us have got things that are going on. So if it's some weekend, if it's during the day, we can try and work it out. If because of some reason you can't make it in the morning and they're only available in the morning, let me know, because I can reassign it. I know we've got a couple of people here on our team that have, have got different time schedules and stuff. And if it means that, we've got to have someone drive to, I'm just picking on Standard now, Glenda, just because, Caitlin isn't here, but if we need someone to drive the Standard to do them at 2 in the afternoon, we can pay that mileage to get those like 2 or 3, hit at that time, to say we've hit those times. And all it is that they want to make sure we've given every opportunity for the individual to actually do the job, or to get enumerated. Because the one thing I learned the other day, and we can't tell people this, so don't go around saying this, but they will actually follow up with people to the point of taking them to court. And because it's federal law, they will lose the case, they will be fined, and they will have to pay court costs. Now, we never get to that depth of things. Like we try our 3 times, we'll do different things to try and support it. We can't tell people you're going to go to court, because that's kind of coming down strong-handed, and that we don't need that, because that'll just, okay, pardon how I say that, piss people off and get them angry. And we want to be the friendly, nice guys. If someone else has got to be a heavy later, we'll let them be heavies. We want the fun part, and petting the dogs, and saying hi to the kids type stuff. Okay, and then the rest of that form is pretty well straightforward. It talks about usual residents, refers to the number of residents in the place. If it's going to be a place that we're going to have no heat, no shelter, we again just document that. And then service requests. The service requests come to me, and there's a number of different service requests. Some of them may be that they were missed in the list leave or in the moto bit, or like it talks about here, different service requests, threats, safety issues. These come to me and I will look after most of them, but I may get, depending on what it is, may get one of you to look after it in your area as well. But I'll talk to you directly when it comes to that. And that's going to be, if it's safety issues, no, I will not put you in there. I will go myself or I will go with you. The one thing I can say is with 30 years as a paramedic, I've seen every kind of stupid or almost every kind of stupid possible. And I know what people can be like. And some of the most beautiful places in the world can be some of the most dangerous, and some of the most rickety, beat up places can have the most amazing people. So, you know, it's, the biggest thing is I want you to be safe. Confidential material found. Please, if you guys lose anything, let me know right away. We'll backtrack. We'll try to find it. Confidentiality is a big bit in this census, and it's a big bit even for you as individuals, that if confidential material gets lost, we will look after it right away. We will deal with it. Because I worked in healthcare so many years, I've seen breaches of confidential material, and people who have done it. Actually, I'm working with another group right now where there was a breach of confidential material, and people, it's ugly the way it can turn out. And so just be very cautious with your material. If you find confidential material, that census material, you know, take it, put it, store it, call me right away, let me know. You guys have done excellent, so I don't think there'll be any problem, but I do really want to make sure that you're safe and that the material is confidential. That has got to be a big component of this. Service in another official language. If you get someone who wants another official language, you know, let me know and we will deal with that. Okay, accessing your assignments. Well, guess what? We've already done this. You guys have accessed your assignments. You can print it off. That's good. And it's very straightforward. So we don't need to go through that whole bit. Any questions on getting it? You guys have, everyone's good? I'm going to take that the silence is either the mic shut off and you can't remember how to turn your microphone on, or that you've got it. So, okay, so you've got your assignments, you've got your, now here, as we go through, when you guys go through your assignments, as information comes in, as they're completed, you'll see lines cross through them. That's why about every 3 days, I will dump your assignments and reassign. And that just shows the work is being done. Now, they may have done it, you know, you come to their door, or they know, okay, people are coming around, so I'm going to get my census done real quickly. They get it done. That's good. You know, we want them to do it online because, you know, like I said, some of the questions in the census could be a little touchy to some people. And when you have to ask them, you know, it's the world is wonderful out there. We live in a wonderful world. We'll enjoy it. We'll embrace it. And, you know, but compared to the way it was, you know, when I was younger, you know, we got asked some pretty bizarre questions. Okay. So that's what it'll look like as you go through. Like I said, the strike through just means that you've done it. You've already printed your assignments. So there's no issue with that. Again, if there's an issue with something, let me know. Actually just shout out, turn your mic on and just shout out, because I don't see hands up and stuff, and I'm looking at another screen. And so again, that just shows you the print button, but you've already, I hope you guys have printed it out. Check your daily assignment, or check your assignment list before, you know, every day. And what you can, and part of the reason for just looking at it before you go out is that, okay, so you guys have got your assignment list now, and, you know, there's a possibility from when I assigned it to now that people have done their census online. So you'll see strike throughs and you'll say, well, why did you assign me things that already struck through? It's because that happened in the past 24 hours. I did these assignments yesterday, and or now tomorrow, you may go out tomorrow again, and even though you still have the list, your original list assigned, if some people have done it, excuse me, you can put a line through it and just know I don't have to go there. And it just saves some work, and it saves some hassle asking people, and they said, well, I've done it online. You can prove it, and it just makes life way simpler. Um, I said, it talks about having up-to-date notifications for your assignment, and it's important. It saves you work. And I know, especially, you know, with this group, because we're, you know, all rural area, that's a lot of driving that if you don't have to go to one place in one block that's, I know, I don't know if any of you guys here, but I know Caitlin actually had to have a tow truck come and pull her out, because of the mud and stuff like that. You know, if we can avoid those places, we've done well. You know, but again, we need to know that we've gone through this, and so we don't miss any places. Okay, checklist before doing interviews. Again, there's just a checklist of things that you need to do. Print off your form. You've already printed off your form today. Determine address. You know, look at your maps. Determine a path. Make sure you've got the. Did I give everyone a non-response follow-up reference sheets? Just the one sheet thing? If I didn't, let me know, because I'll get them out to you today. Yeah, okay, Tony's got one. Yeah.
You did send an email last night or yesterday that included it to be printed off.
Okay, and if you want I'd like a true one, I'll come and bring you one. I realized when I got back home, I had a couple sitting on my seat, and I thought I had the right number for the people. So, but yeah, you can print it off. It's all there. All that information is there. It's very straightforward. And you know, just make sure you got your fancy census clothing on, the fashion statements. You know, we got to look good. Sorry, got to look good when we do this. And your ID cards. Now, what I will do is they've got some exercises in here. It says it's supposed to take 30 minutes. I'm going to let you guys do these on your own later if you want. You're very smart people. You're able to read forms very well. You understand you've done very well. I think there's more important things for you to do today than to listen to me and go through things that you're very capable of, unless you want to. No one's jumping at that? Okay.
I have a question regarding my list that I printed off yesterday, and it doesn't match my assigned cases for today, but there's no strike-throughs showing. So it looks like some of them have actually been removed, but not struck through.
And they may have been removed for the fact, and you're right, that could vary, but they, if the census form is done online, they will actually remove them.
Okay.
And so
that's an observation that we'll have to make as we're checking our form. It's not just looking for strike-throughs and striking through our own list, because in this case, they're gone completely.
And I am going to get into that. And that's just, this is where strike-throughs are one thing, they're completed. But the other one is that when the list regenerates, they will pull out the ones that are done. So I may have to look at yours, Keith, and you know, I don't know how many you've got on your list, but if you've only got 20, you know, maybe, you know, start off with that in the next day or two, and you'll have more after that. And we're going to see this fluctuate and flow as we go. You know, the goal is to have as many people do this online, because it just makes life easier. But we know that there are going to be some that we are going to have to follow up with. But yes, it's going to be a very fluid list. That's why I look at it every day. If you want to print it, you know, print a new one off every day, just so you know what you have. And if all of a sudden you go to print one off and you've got no assignments, let me know, because then I can go and reassign more. Because I'm only going to give you so many at a time, because if not, one, it becomes frustrating and overwhelming. Well, I've got to do this. Well, we've got to, you know, I think we've got 6 weeks to do this completely, to hit all places 3 times, to do all this work in 6 to 8 weeks. You know, I don't want people to feel overwhelmed and they got to rush or break their neck, or we'll get through it methodically. Okay,
Quick question.
numerator. Pardon me?
Starting at this point, we will only have follow-up in the areas that we have done the list leave.
That is correct. As of right now, and we've got to make sure your areas are done first.
Right, because
And
I don't have maps or anything for anything else yet.
yeah, and you have, but what's going to happen, and I can see probably one or maybe two coming and supporting the town of Drumheller when we get to a certain point. Like I said, I'm going to do the training with the Drumheller people on the 31st of May. And I was initially supposed to hire up to like 18 people total for this group, but I've also noticed that we're going to have some places where there'll be very little work. So, someone will have like 1 day or 2 days or very few places. It's better off that we spread the work out for people who want to do it. And like you guys have done an amazing job, and I'm trying to, keep you guys as busy as possible. And, I know it's not big money, but, give you guys the opportunity to do more to help out. And it also makes, having fewer people doing great work than having lots of people doing adequate work. And that's what I look at. So keep up the good work. And one other thing, and I will mention now, is that, and I know a couple of you have already, if there's a day that, you've got to go do something, like you have an appointment or whatever, don't worry about that. Again, you see your work schedule, you know what you need to do, work your way through it. If you need to move your parents or if you need to go help someone, that's important. Okay. Okay, introduction. We'll go through this bit here. It says it take us 55 minutes, but I know it won't. Okay, so when making contact at the door, make sure you've got masks and stuff on. Go through all the safety precautions. And, it's safety for the people we're enumerating, but it's safety for yourselves. How many people have had at least one shot, one of their COVID shots? Well, good then. So we've all got a level of safety. That's good. Anyone has 2 yet? Okay. We all have a level of safety, and things are going to get better, but let's do everything. And it's not just COVID. There's other diseases out there. And some of those places some of the most beautiful places have got all kinds of bizarre things going on. So I just had a flashback of some of the places I've been to in my career, like when you see lice jumping from people to people and, various things anyways, that's just bizarre stuff. So anyways, be safe. Watch out for dogs, watch out for trip hazards, watch out for, whatever possibilities they are. And the one thing, and this is a lesson I learned again in my paramedic career, is always see what your escape route is. If you get someone coming out that doesn't like the government and is mad, never back yourself into a corner. If there's a gate, know that if the gate closes, how to open the gate and stuff. Not that we should ever have a problem, but I want you to always be safe. Always know what your escape route is, what's your way out. Because it's easy to get in, but sometimes it's a bugger to get out. And if you're in a hurry, if someone smells really bad, hasn't showered in a month or 2, you may want to leave quickly. Okay, so continuing on.
I had one stop there. The guy came out. He was not happy with the government and and there was he had a German Shepherd, geese, and a goat. So it was, I wasn't feeling real comfortable standing there.
Well, so then that's one of these ones that we hope is a real computer geek and gets online and gets it done. But see, it's kind of funny, now the geese and the goat, well, actually the goose might be the most dangerous one out of all of that. You'd hate to be goosed, when you look at it, but, it's just, sorry. We're going to see funny things out there. Remember, what you see is confidential. It's confidential within this group. because if you know, I want to hear the stories and stuff too, because what it does, it makes us all aware of what's out there and what goes on. And it's like even working in, Keith is with the fire department. I worked in EMS. That gives you that group because it's your confidential group. So if there's something, this is where we're a team. Anyways, I could babble on forever, as you guys probably figured out for that. So I will continue on. So interviews at the door. Okay, introduce yourself, give them your name. You only have to give them your first name, but give them your name and, determine the language of preference. Now we should be all English here. I really hope. If there's someone who's not English, let me know and we'll make sure we get the right information. Again, we are looking at May 11th. That is our date. And that's what we've got to determine the status of that residence. And then you let them know that you're doing this. It's a federal law. Like census is a federal process. So you do have the authority to ask these questions. And then again, assure them that it's all confidential and then use the proper forms. And we want to make contact with like your list. You should actually go through your entire list. Like we'll assign everything in your collection units within the first 2 weeks. And that is the hope, that as you get through, you make at least one contact in the next 2 weeks with all the ones, and even the ones I haven't given you yet. It says here, you're expected to complete it in the first 2 weeks, but if there's health concerns or other things, just put the number on one of those cards. Again, those cards I'd left out, the 1D, put their number on it. They can phone in and get an access code and do it online. Again, the first time, push a little bit to try and get the forms done, but if they want to do it on their own, we've got to give them some grace and stuff here. Some people may have got their information and do like I've done sometimes, put it on the desk and then put something on top of it, and all of a sudden you forget, well, hey, I forgot to do this. And if we can do this with as much grace as possible, people will be more likely to do it and do it with a good heart. There's an in-person script here. Hello, bonjour. You don't have to say bonjour, because if you say bonjour and they would think you speak French, well, that could be, introduce yourself, let them know who you're working for, and just go through this bit. Again, you can read this. It's all very straightforward. I don't like the way this reads, and I wouldn't read it exactly. It says, before we begin, I would like to inform you that. That sounds very like coming down hard on them. Try and make it more conversational. This is what we're working, and find your words that you're comfortable with. Every household must complete a census form. Don't tell them that eventually the police will come to your door, you'll be arrested and you can go to court. Because again, that just gets people up in arms. It's under the Statistics Act, so they've got the ability to go and check the act. And the information you're given is only provided to Statistics Canada. And that's important because this doesn't go in for income tax. It doesn't go to, the other departments. At least that's what they tell us, and we've got to expect that that is the case. And Stats Canada uses this information to everything from building hospitals, roads, grants for the area, and that's what it's all about, is to make sure we get the money as taxpayers into the areas that we need it. And it says the data to ensure the least amount of burden is placed on Canadians. Some of the questions I think are a little, going a little deep, but again, we all have our own opinions. We do it and we get through it. When conducting interviews, do not get involved in discussion of politics. Or race, religion, human rights issues, moral beliefs, or debating issues in the media. People will try and drag you into some of these conversations because they think you're a government employee and you've got all this influence within the government. We are so far down on the food chain. We we get left in the bottom of the bowl when the bowl's clean. That's how far we are down in the food chain, so, and, it's, if you've ever been into a situation where you start discussing religion or some of these different things, they can get pretty heated and pretty ugly or pretty opinionated. No, that's not what we're here to do. How to complete the questionnaire. Make sure all fields are complete, and it won't be considered complete until they're all complete, which only makes sense. All those eligible on enumeration day, we've got to make sure that they're covered. So again, I've got to get those other forms out to the 3As, and I will do a quick trip today. And like I said, they may be on your step or something in a package. Where was I going with that? I had a brain fart, so I just stopped talking then. Make sure, again, all the different stuff, just read through the form. It's self-explanatory. Names part 2 of step B should be left blank. Let me see. On census day dwellings that had no usual residents, but only one temporary resident or foreign resident staying there, do the following. Number of persons, part 1 of step B, should be 0. Names part 2 of step B should be left blank. Fill out page 3, including contact name, phone number. So again, just read through this to find some of the little idiosyncrasies in this, and then get a hold of me if you have questions. Read it to the respondent to confirm that nobody else should have been included in the check, and check no if you confirm, and then copy names, use capital letters to write family name and given names. So we have to write capital letters. And check that the order of persons, person 1, 2, 3, is the same as when you go to the different sections on the form. I'm going through this quickly. You guys have any questions? Again, it's very self-explanatory, just follow it through. When completing the census questionnaire, read it exactly as it says. And that way it gives the greatest clarity as to what the government wants. Do not skip questions unless they do not apply. And there is a question, I'm sorry, I'm going to see if I can find it here. And there's one about Quebec that only affects Quebec. And so 1213. Okay, did the person do any of their primary, secondary school in French? And no, that's just about. Is this dwelling located in Quebec? The question number 12 on the short form. If the answer is no, then you go to question 13. If the answer is yes, you go to question 16. So just follow through. Again, it's self-explanatory, and just make your way through it that way. So there are some questions about people being in the military. Again, so just look at the skip patterns, but it'll tell you in the questionnaire. Okay. So when you're finished the questionnaire, complete the SSID information in the top of the questionnaire. So make sure that's there. And, but you have those numbers, they're right on your form. And it shows the SSID. It's extremely important to fill that out because, again, that just aligns with work being completed. So when we send these in and the collection unit gets this information, they're going to be able to look at it and put that SSID in, say it's complete, and then it will not show up on our list anymore. It'll be pulled off. Okay, just some points when you're completing the questionnaire. If you make a mistake, if you need to make a correction on the questionnaire, like it says, draw a horizontal line through it and make your correction directly above it. Cancel questionnaire, you start filling out one, but they refuse to provide the answers. It's got the process here to follow through. You must put an X on the front page of it and then place it in your canceled forms. Because there'll be some people as you go through, especially if they've got long form, they may not want to answer some of those questions. And you may have to bring it to a stop. If they absolutely refuse, and you started, they said, put an X on it, put in your council forms. There's going to be codes we're going to go through. You guys are going to put into the system. Again, this where Tammy and I will look at those codes. And, so far, everything that I've seen has been absolutely spot on. Tammy, any concerns on your end? No, she says no. And, so good work. So just keep doing that. Keep up the good work. Time and date of your visit and the appropriate non-response follow-up outcome code. And we should be getting into those here quickly. Okay, here we go. Outcome codes. 102, incorrect phone number. Well, if we get phone numbers and we need to correct them and stuff when we're talking to them, we will not, at least as of right now, be doing phone calls. That is, as always, subject to change. I'm finding we weren't doing collectives. Now all of a sudden we're doing collectives. So I've done the how to write colony out at standard. And so the one thing I'm finding is that it's like many visionary companies that don't understand how big the vision actually is or needs to be. So we start doing this work, then all of a sudden they realize they don't have the manpower, the whatever is needed to do the complete job. And so it kind of ends up being passed off to the lowest common denominator. And, that's us. And so we pick up the ball and we go. So yeah, we now have the how to write colonies to do in our area. But I've looked after the one that we needed to look after. And the reason I'm saying this is that if all of a sudden I'm telling you not to do something, then the next week, all of a sudden we're doing it, it's because it's just being passed down. It's got nothing to do with our, we're doing great work. The incompetence is at a whole different level. Okay, unoccupied dwellings, 312, a canceled listing, 324, listing that doesn't exist on census day. Code 400 is complete. So if you get all the information, questionnaire is completed, you'll do the 400 code. 402 is incomplete. Some questions beyond question one or may not be answered, so it's incomplete. Further follow-up required. Again, unable to get further, you may get someone at the door that doesn't have all the information. Sorry, what was that? Tony, you're holding up a.
I was just showing you those codes are on the back of that sheet, right?
Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah, it's somewhere handy so we can have a quick reference for it, right?
Well, and that's why I'll make sure everyone gets the big copy of it too, even though you can print it off. I want you guys to have all the information. The informations are on the sheet. And that is very much, and okay, I got to sit back and just enjoy this for a moment. This is where I like the intelligence of this group, because you're saying, Sterling, we know this. It's all right here. And that's good. That is what I want to see, is that, but at the end of the day, we'll communicate it, make sure we're all on the same page. And, that way, if something ever comes down from up top, and they're coming to me and saying, oh, this collection unit was, I said, no, they knew it, because I promise I will defend this team and defend the people. We've communicated, we've done it. So thank you, though. I love that. And, at times, if you want me to go faster, just go like this. If you want me to slow down, it's all good. Okay. So anyways, there's the codes, and we'll get through it. And as we go through, then there'll be some follow-up I've got to do, maybe some follow-up we've got to do, depending on what the codes are. And it talks about here, completed questionnaires, outcome codes. Do not complete a questionnaire electronically with a respondent. So don't go into their house and show them on the computer or help them do it that way. They do it that way, and that's it. And then it just shows the assignment code. And now it's time for lunch. We'll take a 5-minute or 10-minute bio break, grab some coffee and stuff. Like I said, we will be done this early. We'll be done. I'm hoping, what time is it now? Oh, I'm thinking we'll be done before noon. But I do also, when we're done, to just look through the material and stuff again. Call me, text me, email me with whatever questions that you have. Again, you guys know the stuff. You know it, you'll do well. So, okay, we'll take 10 minutes, be back in, about about 10 after 10. You know, I figured out the biggest problem with everything going electronic is that on Fridays you can't avoid your mailbox, you know, and just let the bills sit in there over the weekend. You know, they'd come right to your computer right now, so you just automatically see them. You know, I'd like to have the weekend off to, you know, not look at the bills. I just heard that Ontario is looking at reopening plans and stuff, and I see our numbers in Alberta coming down. Um, you know, you guys don't have to rush back just because I'm talking. I, you know, sometimes talk a lot, and but I see the numbers coming down in Alberta, so I hope that here in the next 6 weeks or so we can start having. You know, I really want to go to the Stampede this year, and normally I don't make a point of going to the Stampede, but just to be somewhere noisy and, you know, and I am planning a cruise for November, the end of November. I put a deposit on a cruise, so I want to be able to get the hell out of here and see what life is like somewhere else.
A cruise would be great right now.
Oh, I absolutely, but you know, it's because we've cruised a few times. Like I love cruising.
Oh, have you? I've never been.
Oh, they're absolutely phenomenal. The only thing is that I've been on Noom for a while now, and I've been very successful. I've dropped almost 30 pounds, but I got about another 30 pounds because I know as soon as you get on the cruise ship, you put on 10 pounds.
Yeah,
The
no
food
doubt.
is so amazing, and it's everywhere. Like it's disgusting, you know, and it really is. It's, you know, and there are people, you know, that, how to put it, that run, like literally run to the buffet when they get
Oh,
on the ship. And I think you
I've
see
heard
them
it's
there
great.
the entire cruise. But
Yep. I'd probably be one of those.
well, but no, like the specialty restaurants we went, there's a, like we go Princess Cruises, love Princess Cruises, and there's a, all the ships have got specialty restaurants where you do pay a little bit more. Like the main dining room with the food is amazing. Like they have lobster night, they've got, you know, it's, and as much as you want. If you want 8
Wow.
lobster tails, they'll bring you 8 lobster tails. You know, it's, but they've got some specialty areas, and the Italian one, and like they tell you, if you're going to book the Italian one, you've got to have 2.5 hours. And it ended up there was 22 courses
Oh, wow.
for it, and like one of the courses might be just a little appetizer.
Yeah.
But then you'll have like 3 or 4 of these little fancy Italian appetizers, and then there's, you know, a meal, and then there's, you know, the salads and the soups, and like the guy just keeps coming
Yeah.
and coming,
Wow.
and coming. And no, if you don't get although now they've got so many different methods of preventing seasickness. Well, Tammy, you like when we went to Normandy, remember the boat we went across on?
I didn't go.
Oh, you don't? Yeah,
No.
you went there. Anyways,
No.
that was way rougher than any cruise ship would ever be.
Yeah.
And we did well.
Yeah. No, I didn't go on that trip.
That's right. What we're talking about is we took a group of cadets. We got the privilege of being on Juno Beach for the 6th of June, 2019, or the 75th anniversary of D-Day. We were actually on Juno Beach, and the cadets actually were part of the ceremony. I tell you, if you ever get a chance to go there, you know, and see the Canadian cemeteries and stuff, there is no way I can define it. It is so, it's so inspiring. It's so sad. It's so amazing. It's so, you know, even we went to the B'nai Samar, the cemetery there, and I don't know how many soldiers were laid to rest there. And this is during the initial battles of D-Day. And I just sat there, and you didn't even want to move. You just wanted to sit there because it was like, it was history, it was life, it was so many different things. And but Tammy's son was part of our group, And we took, how many cadets? We took 18 cadets over there.
Yeah,
And
oh, he loved it.
we saw the Churchill War Rooms, Buckingham Palace, and
Yeah,
Bletchley Park. If you've ever seen the movie Imitation Games, we were actually at Bletchley Park and where that system was designed to decode. And so, but I mean, the actual Juno Beach and the Canadian cemeteries in France, it sounds morbid, but it is the most amazing, feeling I've ever had in my life. So. Got another minute here, and when Tony's back, we will continue on. Well, he brought snacks, but he didn't bring for all of us. That's that's the difficult part about this.
Actually, I was listening to you there about the Juno and all that. First, it's my birthday. Second, it's have you read Farley Mowat and No Birds Sang?
No.
It's a really good book. It's a really as far as the Second World War, because Farley Mowat being the writer that he is and everything,
Yep.
but he was in the service at that time. And it goes from prairie boy, literally boy, and all the fun they were having prior to getting shipped over there, and then once they were deployed into Italy and that, and it's just it really, like you say, it's happy, it's sad, it's everything, and it's sobering. It's very sobering, right?
Oh, I love that word. When I was sitting there on that bench at B'nai Smart, it was sobering, because you just had to realize how precious life was, how precious our freedom is, how precious, okay, not that I'm spouting census or anything, but what we're doing here, we can do it because we were given those freedoms, and so even though people may not like governments and stuff like that, we live in an amazing area. So, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll continue on. Okay. Respondent has questions during the census. Just give them the phone number, and it is on the cards and stuff. Do I have, it is on the card. So they can just phone and ask questions. I actually disappeared completely, Keith, when you put it up. All we saw was your background.
Exactly, it was because of my background, but
Yeah. The number's there on the card. So, just give them, and, I've got lots of those cards. If you guys want more, you're free to have them. Where it talks about if they want to know verification of your identification, give them your census number, give them the phone number, it'll back it up. Want another language? Again, just get a hold of me and we will deal with it. If you do not speak the preferred language, it talks about an outcome code of 429. Just put in 429, just get a hold of me, and I will look after that side of things, at least initially. Visually or hearing impaired, you can have them complete the questionnaire while you wait. But again, you can be doing the questionnaire with them, like the paper questionnaire. Provide the telephone number for the telecommunications device. And responding to the assistant, someone who will act as an have someone act as an interpreter if they can. And if it requires follow-up, just put the right outcome code in it. I'm not believing we're going to have too many issues with this here in the rural areas and stuff. But if we do, just get a hold of me and we will deal with it. If they've claimed they've completed the questionnaire already, like it says code 701, put that in the system, put it on your sheet, put it in the system. And then this is something that we may have to follow up on, because the system should align itself to get rid of that, so we're not called back there. But if we end up being called back there, like in a week or so later, one, they didn't complete it, they didn't complete it properly. But we may have to, prod a little bit to get this done. And if there's a total refusal, again, just code 500 and complete the total refusal form. And I send those out to you electronically. Tammy, remind me of that, or if you could, Tammy, send them out to them electronically. Respond if someone has mailed out or said they've got the paper form but haven't mailed it back yet. Again, talks about the code there, 701. If the paper question is handed to you without an envelope or unsealed, collected and treated as if it was a blank one that you completed at the door with the respondent. So make sure go through the questionnaire, make sure nothing's missing. Because if there's something missing, then it's incomplete. So you may have to, flip through it quickly and say, okay, this isn't done, and just get those answers. And if it ends up that it's incomplete, then we will just have to follow up again later. Respondent informs you that they're not the usual resident at census day. Again, it just goes through the process there. If available, look at the number of usual residents that live there. If it's incomplete, code 402. And if no one is, or you are unable to contact the person or the previous householder, assign out code 703, census day, occupant moved. So again, there should be a code for everyone that you do, from completed to, no shelter, no heat, no shelter type thing, or people have moved. At the end of the day, they should all have a code. If it says the usual resident is away till after the 30th of July, again, because that's what everything is supposed to be cleaned up by. Answer the number of people that live in the place, like number of usual residents, 601, absent for collection period. If respondent wants to have interviewed separately from the rest of the household, again, they can have their own form and we go forward from there. And then just assign the appropriate codes as you go through. And if they want to be enumerated separately, complete a questionnaire 3A if the address is selected for a 2A questionnaire. And again, we just read through that. I'll get the 3As out to you today. I got my son digging through the garage to find them. Discovered a new or missing dwelling. And again, this is another form that I think I sent this out yesterday, but we can send it out. Tammy, if we can send this one out again too, just as a form, just birthing a new dwelling. If we find one in our area now, I am quite sure you guys have done a very, very awesome job. So we probably shouldn't, we shouldn't need this form. But if something shows up that you think, oh my, I didn't see that, then this is the form we'll fill out to birth a new dwelling, then we'll go into the system and birth a new dwelling. And it just, again, gives a different information. Just fill out the columns as they list there. Put an X if a dwelling has no heat or shelter from the element. Well, okay, this is just my suggestion. If it's a new dwelling, but it has no heat and shelter, it's not a new dwelling. So I would just close my eyes to it and go by, because it makes no sense. It's like, we're going through all this work just to say it's not occupiable. That's what I call a shed, and people can have sheds on their property.
Isn't part of this doesn't have heat or shelter? It fits under the category, someone is living here, but it isn't an appropriate dwelling.
Well, and that's where, okay.
That's what that category was. Like, if it doesn't have heat and shelter in the last situation, I didn't call it a dwelling.
Yeah.
But if someone is living there and it doesn't have proper heat and shelter, then it's a dwelling because someone has chosen to live there. Isn't that what that particular thing is about?
Well, you bring up an interesting point, because like we've got the old hospital in Drumheller. I don't know if street people actually live in that or not, because there was for a while people hiding in there during the day. But that is where this one will take each one as an individual circumstance, because normally if there's no heat, like no heat, no shelter, no power, it is not a usual residence. It's not, it doesn't fit the category. And that's what we've got to go by, because it makes no sense for people to live there. But if there is someone that actually lives there, okay, my question would always come is, how do they stay warm in winter?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking maybe this is the kind of situation where someone's got a cardboard box building that they've created under a bridge. We don't live in any places that would have that, but there are all these urban centers that might be a situation, right? It doesn't have heat or shelter properly, but this is my real residence.
And that you've got a point, and there was in one of the training that we did, it talked about cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, those weren't supposed to be enumerated. I'll look that one up.
I don't think it matters. I'm just
poking. No, but I get what you're saying.
And it's like it doesn't. It only matters if someone's living in this place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, but I get what you're saying, because people will live in almost anything. Okay, condo buildings or apartments, we should have none out in your areas. If you feel you're being harassed, don't challenge, withdraw. This goes back to what I had said before. Always know your escape route. When you walk in, always look at your way out. And always look at the barriers to your way out. If you've got, if they've got kids, if they've got a yard with a gate and they got kids and toys all over, but you've got to get out of there quickly, always scan to where the toys and stuff are so they don't become a trip hazard. Or, if the gate locks behind you, understand the locking mechanisms and stuff. Now, again, in the rurals, we're pretty safe because there's not a whole bunch of that, but we do have East Cooley, we do have Standard, we do have Hazard. I want to believe the best in people, but sometimes the people aren't the best. So just, keep that open. I have had people meet me at the door with a gun in part of my paramedic career, and a knife, and naked too, though. So, I mean, we've seen it all, so it's just bizarre out there. Okay. Note the circumstances of your assignment. Note on your assignment list that there's harassment, there's problems going on there. Contact me right away. Okay. Please let me know. You guys, okay, how do I say this nicely? Because I normally don't talk like this. You don't need to take shit. Okay, I'm sorry for using that word if I offended anyone, but you don't need to. And yeah, it's like it says, report to me. Dealing with handling refusals. Respondents concerned about confidentiality. We always, I think it's important regardless, when we approach them and introduce ourselves, make sure we let them know in as few words as possible, this is confidential. Our job is to maintain confidentiality of all this information. We've got a process that maintains confidentiality right up to the point it arrives at Census Canada. Because, now these people who ask about confidentiality are probably the ones on Facebook every day putting pictures of everything and their dog on it. That's another whole story. But, we look at privacy. Privacy is important. We're only there, we'll complete the forms and then we will store them properly. The respondent does not wish to be interviewed personally by the enumerator. Again, this is where we can give them that card with the number on, have them contact the 1-800 number, 188 number. They can get their secure ID code, do it online. If someone, and this shouldn't happen, but it can, if because of their beliefs, I don't want to be enumerated by a woman, or I don't want to be enumerated by a man. You know, that they've got their beliefs, whether we agree or disagree, let me know and we will work together to support that enumeration properly, support you properly, and support getting the work done. You know, if there's health and safety concerns, again, we are going to be masked when we're talking to people. Keep back, you know, keep your distance, keep your social distancing, and look at, you know, and just support them in completing the form. It says there, give them that form with their number on it. They can call the number. Outcome code 429 requires further follow-up to case, but should not record, to the case, but should not record HS and notes. So they don't want health bit put on. Okay. Well, put the comments in your notes and then we will figure it out from there. And if there's, you know, a comment that you may need to erase later, do it in pencil, but always keep track of your notes so you know what's there to make you safe. Respondent completely refuses, code 500. And if they're still reluctant to fill out the form, you know, we just let them know that this is mandatory, this is under law. We'll do our best to get them to complete the form. Let me know that they don't want to complete the form. And then, you know, like it says there, be positive, confident, professional, listen, understand their situation, cooperate. And if they still don't want to, just leave, because there are other powers way bigger than us that can deal with this. Okay, definition of total refusal procedures. Like it says there, total refusal. If someone answers, some answers have been obtained beyond question one, the case is not considered a refusal but incomplete. So that's one of those things you'll just put on, was it 401 for incomplete, or whatever the code is for incomplete. They totally can refuse, code 500. You guys can read through this very easily, and talks about refusal conversion. We'll go into that as we get refusals. I don't think we're going to get that many in the areas that we are in, for a number of reasons. I just think our culture here is, you know, is supportive as a whole. With total refusals, we'll talk about refusal conversion with one case at a time. So if you get a total refusal, you and I, as individuals, will talk about it, look at a process for it, and go forward from there. Contact not made. Again, we're going to leave that card, put the numbers on. The other thing, when it comes to contact not made, they want us to look at different times to try and hit that. If you can't hit it during a time that you know someone's home and you need support from someone else on the team, let me know, and I will assign someone else on the team to look after it, preferably someone who is closer to the area than farther away, but a mileage will be paid to help support that, to get this work done. There's that 1D build notice. You guys have got lots of those. The one thing I'll say is, like, I could never let my son write the numbers on it because he's got the world's worst printing. Make sure the numbers are clear on it, so that people, you know, so there's minimal confusion if they've got to phone Stats Canada to get their special ID codes. So that's just one thing, making sure that we've got it legible. There's no private dwelling at the place that's on your assignment list. I don't know why we would have that, because in essence, you guys made those assignment lists and doing the list leave. So we shouldn't have that issue. But this could be in the town of Drumheller as such, because there are some cases now I've got to follow up on in the town. But if there is no dwelling, just 324 canceled listing. And, you know, in short, you know, OBS, by observation, you've noticed that there's no residents there. It just goes through the process for that. changes to private dwellings. Once again, you guys have done this work, so we really shouldn't have any changes to private dwellings. But if you go there and all of a sudden you realize that there was, you found now that they had a mother-in-law suite or something there that you had, missed before, these things happen, that's fine. We'll just make the changes and enumerate it as appropriate. And here's just the form to changes to private dwellings. Once again, I don't think we have anything to worry about because we had a very good documentation done. If no one answers and it appears unoccupied, because there may be some of the areas that you did door droppers at that were questionable. If when we go around and we start doing this follow-up and we realize it's probably unoccupied, we will determine occupancy if we can. If the outcome code is unoccupied, we'll just put in the proper code 312 and move forward from there. And it's by observation, OBS by you've observed. Or if someone comes out and says, oh, there's been no one there for 47 years, but the grass is nicely cut, someone has looked after the place. I'm just being a little facetious here, but if that's the case, just say, even neighbor says there's been no one there for, a long time, whatever comes out.
So that could be reasonable in some of these farmyards that I've been at. It's like, yeah, we're taking care of the yard, but that second house, nobody lives there anymore, but it still looks like a house. And someone, yeah.
And that's very much the case.
Yeah.
And what you do is, because it's so well looked after, maybe grandma and grandpa lived there and they just passed away, and they're keeping the house up. But so if the farmyard tells you, if the yard is talking to you, you got a problem. But if the farmer or the farmer's family talks to you and says, no, that house is empty, your grandma and grandpa used to live there, blah, blah, blah. Now, if grandma and grandpa were there on May 11th, we do have to enumerate them. But if they weren't, then we don't. And this is just where, but this is where we're going to get up close and personal. Well, no, not up close. We're going to be at least 6 feet away, but we're going to get up close and personal with people, and we can ask these questions and get this information. Okay, telephone interviews. This time we're not doing any telephone interviews. We're just doing the face-to-face. But if we end up doing telephone interviews, we'll go over them, we'll do a brief little outline on them as it comes up. But right now, that's being handled by another group. But as I'd mentioned earlier, this went with the collectives and it's going with some other things, that's been dropped down to me to handle that I was never supposed to handle. If we end up having to do some telephone stuff, then as we get to that, we will. Oh, I'm going to ask all the brilliant people here. Have you ever heard of a Field of Dreams campground in any of our areas?
Yeah. There used to be a Field of Dreams bed and breakfast in Redland, and they may have had RV parking there.
Well, okay, now I'm going to drive out there and find out today, because that's one of the ones I was given as a collective. And it's like, I cannot even find it on a map.
No, it's not there anymore. It wouldn't be there in the same way.
Okay, and that's what I got to prove. Okay, that was one thing that was dropped down to me. It's like that, and then there's that other campground just outside of Rosebud, going
I
towards.
actually Googled it and it looked like a bed and breakfast in Rosebud and had a phone number, but very little information, no pictures of the outside. But there was a phone number there.
Yeah, and I did too. So I have phoned the one place and I'm getting, anyways, I'm babbling now, but this is some of the work that got dropped down to me, to follow up on. So if we end up doing telephone interviews, we'll get together quickly. I'll probably be just a little 10-minute discussion on the do's and don'ts, and we'll go from there. So I won't.
I do have
go
a
ahead.
question about that. Like, should we do, we're going there in person and we get a child who's home because, school's weird right now, but their parents aren't home. So we can't do a census with them, fill out a form. But is that a kind of thing that we could make an appointment for someone to do a telephone interview with?
We'll look at that as one-off type situation. But to answer that question, what I would do is I would leave that card.
The yellow one. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, and just say, please give this to your mom and dad.
correct.
And, but also knowing that, because you brought up an interesting bit, if child comes to the door, you know, you can ask them, oh, you know, are your mom and dad going to be home tonight, and drop by later?
Okay, just.
You know, but
do
keep
a
it very,
visit.
keep it very, very limited, your conversation with a child, especially someone under the age of 16, because not that it ever happened, but you never want anyone to question that contact.
Sure.
And that's where, again, this is where my paramedic side comes out. I've seen many situations that where people questioned inappropriately, and the wrong persons got into bad situations because of that. So if a child comes to the door, you know, even like I said, just fill out the card, and you can leave it with them, or just say, what time will your mom and dad be home? And then come back at that time.
Okay.
But good question, because that is, yeah, in this time where kids are, although they're back at school next week.
Maybe
That's,
until someone gets a COVID case in their classroom, and then that class is all sent home
yeah.
again.
And we're so up and down and back and forth.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay, thanks. That answers that.
yeah. Okay, this is just more about phone. Okay, points to remember dealing with reluctant respondents. You know, if they're reluctant, do the best you can. And if there's problems, let me know, and we will work through it. And knowing that we've got like a 98.5% or whatever, and then the government cuts us off anyways, whatever their number is. And I don't know what that number is for sure, but that was the one thing that I was told when I did my go through on this, is that when they say, you know, it's the drop dead time is now, then we're done. This, again, just talking about more refusal stuff on the phone. Okay, after enumeration, record attempts. So do your CMP bit. Again, put all your information into CMP. Shipping questionnaires. Just call me and I'll come get it. If you had a great day and you had, let's say, 10 questionnaires or 15 questionnaires, and you just didn't feel comfortable, call me, I'll come get them. Or if you're coming into Drumheller, let me know and I'll meet up with you, or you can drop by my house. It's all good. The one thing I don't want to do is put a burden on you guys to deliver things to me. If you're coming in and you want to, you know, if we can open up enough, we can sit on the step and have a coffee. I'd love to do that with all of you. But, you know, again, I want to make sure we're maintaining the proper rules, proper safety, the whole bit. But I don't want to put any additional burdens on you guys. Some of you put a lot of miles on your vehicles in your areas and stuff, and I respect that. So I will ask that every day you go out again, that you text me before you go out, you text me when you get back in. And that's just important. And then, you know, the other thing too is that, you know, then I can let, and Tammy, I got to be way better at this, but I'll let Tammy know that, okay, that Trish or Keith or Tony or Glenda, you know, they were out for the day, and so there will be some stuff that she can go in and check and support on. And if you've got any bizarre, unusual things, you know, like pictures of dogs licking you, or birds in the back of your truck, you know, or, you know, things like that, you know, send those pictures. They're all fun. Was I going? Okay, record the number of attempts.
So Sterling, I made an observation that might be useful for people. When you print your assignment list, it appears to print in the order of your VR line.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you view it on screen, it doesn't automatically sort to the same order. And at the top of your assignment list on every column, you can click on the up-down arrow to sort by that column. But what I was finding was the default sort order appears to be the order that you put them into the list, the way that you put them in, so they're not necessarily in the same order as it prints. And so if you just go to the assignment, to the top of the column, I think it's the second column, you can resort it and it'll match your paper list. But you have to do it each time you go in there, or each time you come back into your assignment list, you have to resort it.
Okay. Does everyone understand that? I get what Keith is saying. Everyone else, are you good with that? Okay. That is good. Thank you. Okay. Again, this is where you guys with your different experiences and stuff, throw them in here because we all learn as we go. So we absolutely all learn as we go.
I also found that using my assignment list, I had to go back to my VR log to figure out if some of the addresses were in East Cooley or Lehigh or Cambria or Rosedale. And by looking at the block number on your printed list, the block number is in the bottom left-hand corner of each row. It helps you find which area you're in. And I also found that I probably made a mistake entering one of my VR lines in CMP initially because the address isn't associated with the correct block number in my assignment list now. So what that means is it's going to try and send me to the wrong place on the map that you see in your assignment list. Because it's trying to send me to block 1 when the address is actually in block 5.
See, and that's good information to know because, you know, I'd like to say that this government system was perfect, but it's far from perfect. So thank you, Keith. That's good observations. And again, this is where I'm very happy to have someone with some, some IT knowledge because it really supports what we do. So thank you. Okay. We will continue on because I think we are soon close to done. Updating your assignment list in CMP. There's a button that, okay, my case assignments, you can do update and it will repopulate things as appropriate. Again, about every 3 days, I am going to go on. I will dump the lists and reassign them. And that way we have as current information as possible. If you've got a day where you've got great success and, you know, let's say you get a day where you get 10 or 15 in there, like you just flew through it, let me know because once you enter it in CMP, then I'll dump your list even that day and, you know, give you something clean to start with. And okay, what's this? So there, as you get into CMP, can I make this a little bigger? So I just compare your numbers, compare your information. The right form is given and then number of attempts. Now it talks about telephone attempts over here. Once again, we're not going to worry about it, but they will record and I will be able to see and Tammy will be able to see, you know, if it's morning, afternoon, or evening and the outcomes that come from it. And so if it's like no one there, but it's only day, this is where, you know, we're going to have to look at it and say, okay, we need someone to go in the afternoon or in the evening. And if you're not capable, you guys are all very capable, but if your timing doesn't work out right, then, you know, maybe we'll get someone else to come, you know, assign that to someone else to do another trial on it. But once again, I want to respect your time and the energy you put into it. And I know everyone's got limitations. So don't fret about that. Just let me know and we'll go from there. It said no heat, no shelter, number of usual residents. So as you go, like if you get this completed, you know, you'll put in the number of usual residents and your outcome code will be, was it 400 for completed? And then it'll be good. I can tell Trisha's got all these codes memorized. Yep, that's right. No, okay. I don't want, you guys don't need to memorize this because it'll come back and haunt you like a year from now. You'll have PTSD from doing census. We don't want that. Here just shows the time of the attempts and stuff. Now, the one question I have, and Keith pointed this out a long time ago when it came to the pay bit stuff, and I knew it, but Keith reminded me of it, is that everything is set to 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, like out of Ottawa, or is it? Yeah, I think it's like for the pay. If you get your pay in after that time, sometimes it'll kick back because because that's midnight in Ontario, or is it Atlantic? Well, 9 o'clock. Maybe it's Atlantic time. No, sorry, 9 o'clock our time.
Yeah. The challenge is for pay that your work assignment needs to be on the same day as you are trying to charge your time against it, but it changes to the next day. So if you enter your work assignment after 9 o'clock at night, you can't charge pay against it that day, because it's the next day that your work assignment information got added.
And if that happens, let me know, because I can go back and fix it. And I've had to do that, I think, twice now. It's no, none of these are big issues. This is what I'm here for. Because, and the reason I say that is I just look at the times. If one person says, well, we want you to come at 11 o'clock at night, and you put in 11 o'clock, it might show the next day, because and that's what made me hit it, just because of the way the timing goes. Okay. Saving your up. Okay. Always hit save. This is like anything you do on a computer. Always hit save. Even though you think it automatically saves, I still always hit save, because you'd hate to do a whole bunch of work and, have the power go out or have something happen and just to find out it wasn't saved. So with each one, hit save. I can't say that one enough, because I have lost, I think I lost like about 10 hours of working on my thesis because I didn't hit save. And so it was like I was a little frustrated, but that's okay. Like I said, review information, make necessary corrections. You guys are really good. We've seen no issues. You're accurate. Just keep being you. And then when you get it done, it'll say that you've had success. And that way, the one thing about the system, and I do like it, is that if there's something missed, it'll tell you what you've missed. And you can go back in there and fix it. Okay, some of the codes, which will resolve a case and you'll not be able to work on it again. So these are the ones that once you put that code in, it may cut you out. It may get rid of it. Unoccupied dwelling, cancel listing, complete, for to incomplete. So if it's incomplete, okay, I wonder why if it's incomplete, it won't. I'm talking to myself now. If it's incomplete, it may be something you got to go back for, but it may kick it back. I have to see how the system works. Total refusal, absent for collection period, and census day occupant move. So those ones should remove those from your list. So if you put any one of those codes in, you shouldn't expect to see them again. Communicating with Tammy and I, just whenever you want to talk to us, let us know. We're there for you. We're there to help. I've harped on this, and I'm not going to apologize. I'm going to harp on it again. Notify me if there's any safety threats or issues with confidentiality. Let me know. You guys are important. Your safety is important. Your safety first, confidentiality second. If you've got problems with the computer system, CMP, various things like that, or if you complete your assignment list, like I said, if you go great guns, a couple of you have actually, when you've gone out there, you've hit it hard and got a lot of stuff done. If you got that success, great. There's more work to do. Until we're all done, we're not all done. Discuss special situations with me. We don't need to go over this. If you have a situation, you have a question, I'm available all the time, but always leave a message. Please always leave a message. If you call me at 2 in the morning, my hair will be really bad when I get up. but leave a message. End of the day, we'll make sure all the work is done. Advise me of total refusals within 24 hours, birth dwellings changes to private. Advise me of that stuff. Just send Tammy and I an email, because I get so many emails and Tammy gets so many emails that between one of us, we'll find the right email and be able to help you. And Tammy and I will talk to each other and go from there. I can say Tammy's done an amazing job in keeping me informed of things that it's like all of a sudden I'm going, oh, okay. And, because it's not overwhelming, because I don't get overwhelmed as such, but there's a whole bunch of stuff in this system that we just don't, that we got to filter through. End of assignment. Okay. And you guys can read through that. We'll talk about the end of the assignment individually. There's stuff we're going to need back. We're going to, again, need all we've got to make sure we got all the forms, all the cancellations, your canceled dwellings, your VR books. The list is there, your ID card, because they don't want anyone, going out and doing census again, next year. The government likes their stuff back. I don't know what they do with all of it, but it doesn't say you've got to give the fancy vests back. So if that, you can wear them out as fashion statements, that's a choice. Actually, okay, I got to tell you, when I did some stuff the other day, when I put some of the packages together, my granddaughter was here helping me. I had to photocopy. I made her own census ID, and she wore a vest all day, and she came out to the Hutterite colony with me all dressed like a census worker. So, enjoy your uniform. Any questionnaires and stuff that you've got left over, I'll take back. And once again, we won't ship them. I'll come get them, or because the shipping procedure is going to be painful, and Tammy and I will have to figure that out. I haven't even really wanted to look at it because it's frightening, but it's an me, not an issue. And we'll get through that. Shipping procedures. Oh, bill of lading. We could soon be done here. Again, I will be doing all this stuff. Are you guys getting dizzy yet? Oh, see, this is the one thing I do ask is that with the forms, like when you get completed forms, you got to put them in those confidentiality envelopes. Just write on the outside, or you can even type up a piece of paper and put it on the outside, what collection unit, number of forms and stuff, just so I know, because I'm not going to take them apart. I just want to know what's in there, and then I can put them in the right places. Again, to maintain confidentiality, because I'm going to put them all in a box and ship them off. So, and if you need more of those envelopes, I've got a bunch of them, and we can go from there. I've got lots of forms, lots of envelopes. What you need, just let me know. Lots of those little cards. I probably have another 4,000 or 5,000 of them. I'm not sure. So, well, maybe not quite that many, but I got lots. So if you need more, let me know. Tammy, you're getting all this as we got to ship stuff. I'm going really fast. You're going to get blurry eyed, and we'll go through it. Roles and responsibility.
Yeah, I'm taking it all in.
Are you taking it all in? You're getting it all really quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Making notes as I need.
We will go through it. We've got lots of time. Okay, so just your roles and responsibility. Again, it's in the book. You guys know this stuff. You're good with it. If you have any questions, get a hold of me. That's the next one. Questionnaire completeness checks. As you go through the questionnaires, once you go through one or two, you're going to realize what you need to make sure it's complete. Parts 1 and 2 must be completed, but fill out every spot in there. If it's one that, the one where it talks about, if you live in Quebec, go to number 16. But none of these people live in Quebec because we're in Alberta. So, just follow it through. If there's something that is not appropriate, and there may be in one of the things, just put a line through it just to show that you've asked that question. Just indicate, okay, that question was asked. So take, it's the one thing in healthcare, you signed off everything because some of it was you didn't need to do it, but you've actually looked at it to make sure you didn't need to do it. Questionnaires completed. It talks about here for the 2A, what needs to be done to ensure they're completed. And this is something you can look at. You can look at, go through the questionnaire, look at this, what it needs to be completed, and just so you've got a good understanding of it. It talks about, look at the skip pattern. There's, again, certain questions. If you live in Quebec, go to question 16. Just make sure as you flip through, you know the ones that you may have to skip. Talks about the codes here, 400 complete, 402 incomplete, 500 total refusal. 2ALs, again, it shows what it needs to be complete. You know, like it says there, Q33 to Q58 must be entered for persons age 15 and older. So just look at that one as something in particular. Certain response categories are selected, write-in entry must be presented. And so it shows those there. Then there's some subcategories. Just, I've said this over and over again. Just go through the form, become familiar with it. Become familiar with your material. Completeness check, here it's just showing the different bits here. So it shows the addressing. Talks about here capital letters. So, you know, paper, use capital letters. Make sure your SSID and CLD is complete. And, you know, that's one of the big accuracy checks, is make sure that those numbers are correct. If you, as I said before, if you're going to leave one of those cards there, make sure you write the number on it clearly, so who's ever responding to it. You know, I mean, there's so many people in this world with dyslexia that mixes numbers up. So if we do everything in our power to make sure that we got the right, you know, they can read what we write. That's why I'll never let my son write on him, because can't read what he writes. Again, it's just showing here how to, you know, just capital letters. Again, going through information. So here, you know, they're giving you like a step-by-step, all the different bits you do. You know, relationships. These people have a second language of German and French, so they're quite a, you know, they're quite educated people. When you go, okay, I'm going to look at the form here before I commit myself to this answer. Yeah, the cool thing about the form, the long form, and I'll see if the short form is the same. But you'll see at the top, yeah, when you write their names in at the top, the 6 persons, they'll always be there on the top. So like it shows there, you know, Marie LeBlanc and Walter Smith, those will always show as you go through a form, and you can see that on the form. And that way, you know, we don't start saying Walter and Marie, you know, we mixing them up. Now we're going to get dizzy going through this total refusal form. And Tammy, we'll email a copy of this out to everybody. And if they sent me some of those forms, I'll bring them out as well today with the 3As. I'm only going to bring just a couple of them out for the fact that our goal is to have no total refusals. So you'll have a couple that if we run into it, but then we'll talk and figure out how to deal with it. If you encounter a refusal, to provide names for step B. So fill out step B, including the roster, complete step D, these placeholders. Try to obtain just the first names. So again, that's just filling out the total refusal form. Respondent questions and answers for field operations. Say, how is this, these are questions you can answer, like how is the data used? Are they identifiable? How many households must complete the short and long forms? It says 1 in 4, but you may get, just by nature of your assignment list, you may get 3 in a row that are long forms. You may get a whole bunch of them. And again, it's just by that randomness. So there may be 6 that I've already sent in the short forms, and then you get a whole group of long forms. Questionnaires in other languages. What kind of questions are asked? Again, this is just stuff you can look over. What happens when my questionnaires are completed? Well, they're sent in, their information is put into the computer, and it's available to Statistics Canada. How do I know the person is really from Stats Canada? Give them your number and they can call the line. Why they need our telephone numbers. Again, okay, we've talked about this one a few times. Just really reiterate, if questions are asked, make sure they know that everything is kept confidential. Absolutely, that's something that's important. You know, you can let them know that you even have to take an oath of confidentiality that is, you know, that is binding by law. If you need more than one questionnaire, again, here's the process for it. Just in the number, you know, it says here questionnaire on the top of the 2A and the 2AL questionnaire number, you know, 1 of 2, 2 of 2, whatever you may need. I don't know why they give so many squares, because there's 3 squares for 3, you know, and then 3 squares for the of. It's like, I don't, you know, unless you've got like a cult of 100,000 people or something. Anyways, it doesn't make sense, but there's a lot of squares there. If there's canceled responses, again, it just shows anything that there's no response for, put X's through them so that they know that this is basically an asked and answer type thing. You ask, no, there's no one there, and then cross them out. That way it just shows that nothing is missed, and that helps with completeness.
Sterling, on that particular screen, I believe when you're doing multiple forms, there's certain sections that you have to X out of your secondary and tertiary forms.
Yeah.
It says you never do person 1 and person 2 on the subsequent forms.
No, and you're very right there. Just like a how to write colony, the boss is the only one put into square number 1. And then even the other families, they start at person number 2. Now, why that's the case? Because they are different families. Like the local how to write colony's got 13 families on it, but only one of them fills out number 1. So, and like Keith just said, persons number 1 and number 2, you cross them out on the other forms. I don't know if we're going to have many additional forms within our group, but there may be some families that have got more than 4 kids, a mom and dad and more than 4 kids. That's definitely a possibility. Determining dwelling types. Again, it's the same as we had done before, the different types of dwellings. It's just showing the different types of dwellings. But you guys have been through, again, when you went through your list leave, you did this work. And so that should be pretty straightforward. You know, this next bit is just getting information, putting it in the forms, or making sure they fill out a form. And so in this case, there should be no rocket science to it. If you find a new dwelling and you need to birth a new dwelling, there's a process for it in birthing a new dwelling. Once again, I'm quite sure that you guys have handled this very accurately, but if you find one, the process here is in Appendix H. You go into birth a new dwelling and then follow through the process. If you need to birth a new dwelling, contact me and I'll go through it with you as well, just to support it. And, make sure that up the line knows, okay, we have birthed a new dwelling, but it just goes through, collection unit and block number where you found it. If it's an apartment, dwelling type, so your code, telephone number, if you get one, civic address, your outcome, so that'll be 400, you completed the form, 401 incomplete, 500 total refusal, address and notes that go there, and just hit the birth to dwelling and away you go, it'll come up. So, and if it comes up that it's incomplete or there was no one there, then we may end up having to go back to it. But now at least it's going to be populated in a list that we can see. But and now it's just showing, going through the system, your birth the dwelling, attention dwelling could not be added as, and so it's just showing that this place was already in there. And so then you contact me and we'll deal with it. And if you've got success, it'll come up as, and you just go through it. Then you can add another dwelling or get out of the system. Service requests, the service requests come to me, and unless there's something I need to get you guys to do, I'll handle the service requests for now. But there may be one like, and Tricia, I'm glad you mentioned it about that Field of Dreams. It's out in, is it Redlands? I can't think of that, and it was I'll say a flop house. That's the wrong word. It's the, a bed and breakfast. And so that request has come to me. Now that I know what it is, I just have to do a couple more checks and then I can get it out of the system. And then there's a couple RV campgrounds. And then we got the big one out by Drumheller, the Hoodoo campground, or that Hoodoo RV park. And so we'll, but hopefully I don't need to assign those to anyone. I'll just deal with them at my level and go from there. But there may be some that we need to check out a dwelling and just make sure it is what it is in the system. But I will contact you. I'll phone you or email you or text you, and we'll communicate to make sure we have that. So it's understood what's necessary with that service request.
For your information on Hoodoo Campground, the one trailer out there are the people that run the campground, and
yep.
they were covered in my block 5.
Were they?
For the ones that run the campground.
Yep.
There may be others in the campground that you have to cover off, but the main one should be done.
Yeah, and that one I was pretty sure of, and thank you for just confirming that. And yeah, I'm just gonna go out and see, how many usual residents you have out here, like parked out here. I don't know. I don't think there's any year round, but just to double check that there is none that are year round. I know I slept in a RV all winter one winter. It's a long story. No, I wasn't homeless. I just was away from home. And so but I will go out and check, and it's a whole different form and system for that. But thank you for that, just confirming that you got the regular residents out there. And and this is what I like hearing, is that when you guys get this bits of information, you let me know. And now I've learned about Field of Dreams. Now I've learned about the Hoodoo campground. So it makes, everyone's work a little bit easier. So thank you. Just special requests. Like I said, I will talk to you about the special requests and just the process of going through the special requests. Call or visit buttons. And again, I've already done that with the Hutterite Colony and with one other one. And I will stop babbling on that. Okay. We've been through 110 pages of stuff in in just a couple hours. Once again, I've got total belief that we got a good group, so I know that we will do very, very well with this. You guys have all been given your assignments. You've all printed them up. Any questions at all? Any good stories? Any, you know, because this was booked for like 8 hours or 7 hours, you know, so we can fill up 10 more minutes if we need to.
So I have not printed mine yet. I didn't realize I was invited to do that. Were there any quirky things that I should be aware of that other people have engaged with as they've printed?
Any problem with the printing for the rest of you?
They printed fine, but like I pointed out earlier, Tricia, the order of the printed document doesn't match the order on the screen.
Okay, yeah. So as I'm referencing them back and forth, just to be aware of that. And
Yeah,
then-
if you just reorder it on the screen, then they can be in the same order.
Okay.
It looks like further looking, it looks like when they're sorted on screen, they sort by short form first and then by long form.
Okay.
Whereas when you print them, they sort by your SSID.
And that's good to know, because that just makes life easier at the end of the day. You know,
Taking it down. Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm actually
Well-
surprised that there are as many non-responses in my area that I've gotten assignments for.
Well, there's actually a lot in all the areas, but what I think happens is that this comes in the mail or we drop them off and, you know, people throw them on a desk or whatever, and I'll get to it. And, you know, there's many good people out there that just say, oh, I didn't get to it. Okay, I'll get to it. You know, and that's why this next like 2 weeks, you know, I really, you know, want us to give some leniency to people like, okay, get her done. You know, if I got to come back out here again, you know, like you say, if I tell you again, you're in trouble, you know, but just, you know, give some leniency because
Actually,
it's way easier if they do it online. Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
Actually, a lot of these guys are taking care of farming right now, and
Yeah.
they're too busy to be doing that stuff. They're working till late and that. So yeah, I understand totally why they're not getting done.
Well, then I
And-
think there's some trickiness in like this flat piece of paper that got dropped off. It doesn't seem very urgent and it doesn't necessarily communicate. Like I was at a friend's house and they're like, well, your census is sitting here. Oh, do we have to do something with that? I didn't know. And so it's like, yeah, that there seems to be a communication disconnect in sure, this thing showed up in my door in my mail or whatever, but it, yeah, what do I
Well,
do? with it?
Ads
Why does it
ads
matter?
on TV all the time. I mean, you see it on TV, you know, about doing your census and stuff. So,
I don't have TV.
oh,
And
there
see,
you go.
that's some of the interesting stuff because with our, you know, with our new world or a newer world, okay, some people don't have TV.
Yeah.
And then there are people who watch only American stations.
Yeah.
And this is a Canadian event, you know,
And
and
listen to the radio because we're not driving anywhere. And yeah, I'm like,
It's on
oh,
there.
well, this is a thing I'm dealing with. I thought it looks like my dental reminder. I'm like, oh, I should get a checkup in the next 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And so
but this is what we're going out to do now. This is us
Yeah.
giving that gentle
just
reminder.
reminding them that it's like this needs to happen. Get her done.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot like over here, especially in East Cooley. I know a lot of the people don't have internet. You know, there's quite a few of them here that don't have internet at all. So some of them did. I know some of them did call in for their own copy of the census to fill out and send back. And you know, some of them may not be so motivated. I guess I'll find out when I go through the total list there. I see only a couple of numbers, but
I have a few that I'm like, oh, I'm not surprised that one's there.
that's right. Yeah.
But I
You
think
know,
if you would have called and then by the time they get it in the mail and then you go and pick up your mail, like I wouldn't be surprised if some of them, if they've called for them, don't have their form yet. to be filled out in the mail. So,
Well, there's a number of people that check mail once a week or once every 2 weeks because
Yeah.
all your bills come online, like I was looking today, oh, there's my, my power bill. I can't even avoid the mailbox now because they send it to me on, in email, and it's like, okay. And, so this is,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
I have to go visit all the dogs again. I had no idea that every farm around me has 3 dogs with heads this size.
Some of them aren't too happy either, and they don't like you wearing a mask.
Yeah. There was some interesting, I've been definitely climatized to engaging large dogs. So it's like, all right, whatever issue I had before I'm over it.
Well, that is, it's always interesting doing this kind of stuff. And when you're out and we see people in town, we see them at the grocery stores and stuff, and we think one thing, then you get to where they actually live and you see who they really are and stuff. It's like, people are interesting. And just enjoy, just enjoy life, realize that we're all unique and we're all normal and we're all the same. We're all dysfunctional, and just go from there. Who here doesn't have a dysfunctional family? It's normal stuff. So, okay. I will stay on till everyone's gone. So I won't kick anyone off, but we've done well. Look through your material. And you've got your lists. You can start anytime. And, but just be safe out there. Let me know when you're going. Let me know when you're back. Let me know what you need. Keep in contact with me. I'm lonely, here sitting here all by myself, Okay, no, I'm not sitting by myself and I'm not lonely. To let you know, and the only time I won't be able to deliver things immediately will be on Saturday. Saturday, I've got to be in Edmonton where I got 4 different events we have to video for the Navy League. So, and I've got to be in all the videos. So I guess I got to do my hair and that type of stuff. So it's all good. So thank you guys very much. Have a good one. Just say no to drugs. That type of stuff.
All right.
So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Actually, Tammy, stick on for 1 second. I got just one thing.
Okay.
I got a text from Alan I got to tell you about.
Okay.
So
All right.
take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, this.
How do I get out of here?
It should say the bottom right. It should say end.
Rename, hide, pin, choose.
You have a little circle